Hi, welcome to That's Ready Mysterious, the show where every bite-sized mystery is rooted in reality. I'm your host, Kelly with an I, leading you through a maze of short stories that are filled with perplexing true mysteries. From missing people to unsolved crimes to eerie coincidences, each episode invites you to step into the unknown and question the ordinary. These tales aren't from fiction, they're stories history hasn't solved. Whether you seek suspense, love curious facts, or are just drawn to stories that linger in your mind, That's Ready Mysterious is your weekly passport into the truly strange, baffling, and unforgettable. Tune in and let the mysteries begin. Transcripts and references for all episodes can be found at that'sreadymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about the 1962 Alcatraz escape. Alcatraz Prison was considered inescapable. In fact, prisoners with histories of trying to escape were sent to Alcatraz to keep them locked up. Between 1934 and 1963, when the prison was shut down, 36 men tried to escape in 14 different attempts. Almost all were caught or definitely didn't survive. 23 were recaptured. 7 were shot and killed as they ran away. At least 3 drowned, and 5 inmates in 2 separate escapes were unaccounted for. 2 of those prisoners escaped in 1937, and 3 escaped in 1962. The 2 prisoners that escaped in 1937 are presumed drowned. Those that escaped in 1962, however, may have made it to the mainland. Alcatraz Prison is on Alcatraz Island, California. The island lies about 1.5 miles or 2 kilometers offshore in San Francisco Bay. It held people beginning during the Civil War in the 1860s. It became a federal penitentiary in 1934 and boasted that it was the world's most secure prison. Tougher bars were added, guard towers were put up, and strict rules were enacted, including 12 prisoner checks a day. Alcatraz held famous prisoners including Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, and the Birdman of Alcatraz. A guard was making his rounds on the morning of June 12, 1962, when he noticed that 3 inmates appeared to still be asleep. The guard discovered that the inmates were actually papier-mâché dummy heads with hair glued on. The guard immediately sent up the alert. The warden in charge quickly notified state and federal authorities, including the Federal Bureau of Investigations, or FBI, and the U.S. military. A manhunt immediately began. Armed robber Frank Morris was the first escapee and mastermind. He was noted as an escape artist in prison records. He had been sent to Alcatraz in January of 1960. He was convicted of bank robbery and burglary as well as other crimes, and in addition had attempted to escape other prisons numerous times. He was highly intelligent, and his escape plan accounted for the difficulty in swimming to shore. The escapees built an inflatable raft by gluing together rubber raincoats that had been stolen from the prison shop. The other 2 escapees were brothers Clarence and John Anglin. Clarence had been sent to Alcatraz in 1961, and John had been sent there in 1960. All 3 escapees were in Alcatraz because they had previously attempted to escape from other prisons. Morris knew the brothers from previous prison stays. The 3 had been in adjoining cells. They were helped by another inmate, Alan West. West was supposed to have escaped with them, but he didn't get out of his cell in time. On the morning of June 12th, law enforcement discovered grill openings in the back walls of the inmates' cells made of concrete. The walls were about 8 inches thick, and the grills had been enlarged using tools made from spoons stolen from the mess hall. Fake grills made of papier-mâché were placed over the openings. Most of the details of the escape came from Alan West, who didn't make it in time because he didn't have his ventilation grill completely off. West had helped build the raft and the rubber life jackets the men used in their escape. These had been built in a make-do workshop on the cell block roof. The same workshop was used to store equipment used for the escape, such as the makeshift drill used to remove the cover of the ventilation shaft. It's believed that the 3 men escaped from the island, but it's not clear if they reached the mainland. Within 2 days of the escape, a packet of letters sealed in rubber and related to the men was removed. Some paddle-like pieces of wood and some rubber inner tube were found in the water. A homemade life vest was found washed up on Cronkite Beach. Pieces of rubber equipment were found on and near Angel Island. Angel Island was once an immigration station, but for the escapees, it was intended to be a stop along their escape route. They planned on swimming from Angel Island to Marin County on the mainland. They were then going to steal clothing from a retail store and a car. Some people believe that the 3 men died before making it to the mainland. However, no bodies were found in the bay. This is not proof that they made it. Their bodies could have been swept out to sea. There were, however, some sightings of the 3 men after they escaped. There were also some messages that purported to be from the men. A letter from someone claiming to be John Anglin was sent to the San Francisco Police Department in 2013. It claimed that he had escaped from Alcatraz in 1962 and that he was now 83 years old and suffering from cancer. The writer claimed that the 3 had survived that night, but barely. It continued that Frank had died in 2008 and Clarence in 2011. The letter said that if police made an announcement on television saying that Anglin would go to jail for no longer than a year, that he would be willing to give them his location and go back to jail for medical treatment. The FBI checked the letter for fingerprints, DNA, and handwriting, but the tests were inconclusive. The U.S. Marshals Service said there was no reason to believe the men would have changed their lifestyle to become law-abiding citizens after they escaped. The FBI did not say anything on television and suppressed the letter. Many people believe that the men escaped, but the FBI does not. They closed the case on December 31, 1979, saying the 3 had drowned in the bay. They turned the case over to the U.S. Marshals. The FBI investigation discovered that the plans to escape had started in December of 1961. The men used crude tools to loosen the air vents and drill closely spaced holes around the cover so that the whole thing could be removed. They used a commonly unguarded utility corridor for their escape. Then they went up to the roof of the cell block, which contained their secret workshop. They used stolen or donated items to build and hide things needed for their escape, including more than 50 raincoats. They climbed up through the ventilator, got into the prison roof, shimmied down the bakery smokestack at the back of the cell house, climbed over the fence, and went to the northeast part of the island to launch their raft. The FBI does not believe the men survived for 4 reasons. They say it would have been too difficult to cross the bay. They also say that the men's plans involved stealing a car and clothing once they reached the mainland, but no crimes of this sort had been reported. The families of the escapees wouldn't have had the financial means to support the men, and they wouldn't have been able to work to support themselves without getting caught. For 17 years, there was absolutely no credible evidence that they survived. According to National Park Service Ranger John Cantwell, the Federal Bureau of Prisons say that they drowned once they got off Alcatraz, and their bodies were swept out to the Pacific Ocean. End of story. Now there is, however, some evidence that the men did survive. The first piece of evidence was the fact that a witness claimed to have seen a pristine white boat in the bay on the night of the escape. It had no lights, but looked like someone on board was shining a flashlight into the water. Police followed up on this, but couldn't figure out who owned the boat or where it went. Then there was the 2013 letter from John Anglin. A 2015 History Channel special showed the picture of what appeared to be the Anglin brothers taken in Brazil 13 years after their escape. John and Clarence's mother received flowers several years after the escape, and they said they were from the brothers. There were some escape attempts prior to June 11, 1962, as well as one afterward. In 1938, 3 inmates working in the prison factory killed Officer Rael C. Klein with a hammer, broke through a window, and climbed up the roof. An officer in a guard tower shot and killed one and subdued the other. In 1945, an inmate stole a military uniform from the laundry and boarded a boat, which was radioed and turned around when the prison noticed the inmate was missing. In 1946, 6 inmates overpowered a guard and stole the keys. Then they stole weapons from the gun gallery, only to discover the keys didn't work to get them out of the prison. Then they took some officers hostage. The standoff lasted almost 2 days before the U.S. Marines helped retake the prison. Then, following the Anglins and Morris escaping, in December of 1962, 2 men bent the kitchen window bars in the basement of the jail to get out. They attempted to swim their way to freedom. One was discovered exhausted on the mainland under the Golden Gate Bridge, proving it is possible to swim to the mainland from the island. Alcatraz closed 1 year after Morris and the Anglins escaped. It's believed that the escape may have contributed to the closing, as the prison could no longer deem itself inescapable. Today it is used for tours. What happened to Frank Morris, Clarence Anglin, and John Anglin? Did they survive their escape attempt, or did they drown in the bay? What do you think? Thank you for joining me on our adventure through today's mystery. The stories that That's Ready Mysterious covers are often stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed today's tale, subscribe to make sure you never miss a story that challenges the ordinary and reveals the mysterious. Until next time, keep questioning, and remember the world is full of mysteries yet to be explored.